Hello and welcome to this video, which is in memoriam for International Master Adam Hunt, who was very shocked to hear died a few days ago after a long battle with cancer. Um, I mean, Adam was simply, part of the English chess scene. Talented IM with 2 GM norms. He'd dedicated himself to coaching. He was head of chess at a school in Suffolk, and did a lot of British junior coaching as well. An author and also a popular commentator at the British Chess Championships, together with Danny Gormally a couple of times. Adam was just like his sister Harriet, really happy when he was attacking, very much into big theoretical lines, crazy stuff, and going for the king. I remember that I knew I was going to play him in a 4 NCL weekend a few weeks in advance, and I looked at some of his games, and it's one of those things where you sort of think, oh, maybe it would have been better not to know somehow, because now I know in advance that my king's going to be having a bit of danger. And indeed, so it came to pass. It was I think from pretty much any position he was able to whip up very dangerous counterattacks. I wanted to show 2 games, or a game and an excerpt, that really demonstrate Adam's style, I think, to its best advantage. One is against Danny Gormally, this game, in a very, very sharp Sicilian, unbelievably theoretical, where Adam comes out on top. And the second game is a lovely finishing attack, really gorgeous attack that he played as well. And I think that'll give a good example of his style and of the great things that he could do over the chessboard. So this is the game against Daniel Gormally, British grandmaster, big Najdorf expert, and it's in a big bishop g5 Sicilian Najdorf. Was played 2007. Quite a long time ago, right? In the 4 NCL. So Adam was white and Danny was black. So I mean, when I was preparing against Adam, I saw that big theoretical lines. You knew you were going to have a good theoretical battle, which is also nice somehow, right? A lot of players avoiding the main lines, but Adam going right into them. And this is the bishop g5 Najdorf, the sharpest line against the Najdorf, probably the most analysed. I mean, even back in 2007, there was lots and lots to know in order to play this line, and now it's just completely bananas with all the computer analysis. Danny, he's often favoured this slightly classical older main line with bishop e7. It was one of my favourites too when I was professional and playing the Najdorf all the time. I liked it very much indeed. Black, first of all, stops white from doubling the f-pawns. That's not always bad, but just useful. Then the queen comes to c7 to stop white from playing e5. And then the knight comes to d7. And black's idea is to try and play b5 and bishop b7. If black manages to do this okay, then it's pretty harmonious development somehow. Bishops well placed, knights ready to attack the centre, b-pawn ready to disrupt the knight on c3 and weaken white's control of the centre. But white's got a bit of time and quite a bit more space. And this is how the theory goes then. g4, b5, bishop f6. Surprised me when I was young and learning the Najdorf. White just gives up the bishop pair just like that. But it's for tempi. Knight f6, we go g5, knight d7, and we go f5. And I mean, we're 13 moves in there, but we've barely scratched the surface of theory. And as you're going to see, these players are going to follow theory for a very long time indeed. Now, there's a big crossroads here, really. The line that I ended up playing quite a lot was to take on g5 and go knight e5. That's quite more of a solid line, really. I mean, white is just a little bit better, but it seemed like the best way really to deal with the attack. I started off playing the line that Danny played, but I kind of got cold feet and was a little bit scared about doing it. But I mean, in general, it looks like from a theoretical point of view, black's doing okay, but still, well, you'll see what I mean. Black plays knight c5, so just protecting the pawn on e6. I mean, white's hammering away at the light squares with the pawn on f5 and knight on d4, and black plays knight c5 to defend. And here white sort of switches emphasis quite a lot. Doesn't attack the light squares anymore. He switches his attention to the dark squares mainly. He plays f6, takes, and bishop f8. What a crazy position right already. And as I said, we're still barely scratching the surface of theory yet. What has actually happened in all this? Well, I mean, first of all, black has got typical Sicilian advantages here. You've got the two bishops now, because white played bishop f6 to speed up the attack. And you've got this this solid centre on d6 and e6. You've also got the possibility of playing b4 to undermine white's control of the centre. You could imagine that if black just gets a few moves in, bishop b7, probably castle queen side, gets b4 in, white's position could just get overwhelmed somehow. However, what white has a big lead in development, and white has some time now, so time to do stuff. And you've got to try and work out how how you're going to attack the black position. Funnily enough, although I said that with f6 you switch your attention to the dark squares, and that's kind of true, the things that remain the weakest here are still the light squares, in particular the pawn on f7, pawn on e6. And yeah, white has there's been a huge amount of theory. When I started looking at it back in 1988, I guess, when I started looking at the Najdorf, white was playing moves like queen h5 to hit the f7 pawn. Bishop h3 was quite a common move, and white players were even punting the sacrifice knight d5 immediately. What's the idea of a move like knight d5? Well, the idea is after takes. Okay, you're a piece down, but you've opened the e-file against the king, and you've also got this square for a knight, so you can put a knight in there. The black king isn't necessarily going to be getting out of the center very easily. You can also play the move bishop h3 and stop the king from moving to d7 very easily to get your king trapped like that. But all these sort of things found solutions somehow. And then I think in 1989 or something like this, a young Hungarian called Bela Perenyi, who also died tragically young as well, very talented attacking player, came up with the idea of rook g1. And what's the idea of rook g1? The idea of rook g1 is that white is going to play the move rook g7. And this rook is going to attack the pawn on f7, and if you take it, well, that's what I'm talking about, switching over to the dark squares. Then suddenly the dark squares are exposed. Black's missing his dark squared bishop, and the pawn on d6 is unprotected. White's got moves like e5, which also will attack the rook on a8. Crazy stuff. So this move caused a bit of a stir when it arose, but eventually black players, all the pre-computer age, it's really impressive, found a very interesting response, which was h5. I mean, really, the idea of this move is that you're stopping the queen from coming to h5, which means that actually you can ignore for a reasonable amount of time the rook when it comes to g7. There's no easy way for white to increase the pressure on f7. Now, it's not necessarily going to be a joy to have it there forever, but it means that black can carry on with his own counterplay, like b4, for example. Now, there are lots of moves here in this position. I mean, there's rook g7, there's king b1, there's a3, which is the engine favourite. That one's quite common, happening quite a lot. Just to stop black from playing b5 to b4, just trying to slow down the counterplay. It's the engine favourite move in this position, in actual fact. Yeah, I mean, looks like the engines find some interesting stuff in there, so it might be worth some future attention. But what Adam played was the third most popular move, but a move that's been tested a lot in correspondence play, and the move is rook e1. And well, it looks a little bit weird, right? I mean, yeah, somehow, there's a half open file on the d file. Why are you moving a rook away from there? But I think you understand what the point is. The idea is that, well, first of all, you're anticipating b4, attacking the knight on c3, undermining the pawn on e4. You're protecting that pawn on e4. But secondly, you're teeing up for a knight d5 sacrifice with the rook on the e file. So, yeah. Danger is brewing. So bishop b7 from Danny. Danny's still following the theory, and yeah, knight d5 is possible here, but black has just gains a little bit of time because queen a5 hits the now loose rook on e1 and also the pawn on a2. So bishop h3, queen takes a2, and black is fighting. The engines give black an advantage, but well, they suggest the best continuation, takes rook g7. Lord knows what's happening, but the engines make a draw of it. I'll just show you one line that the engines are coming up with here. Queen c3, looking to invade on here, and possibly also throw in a bishop d7 check, and also threatening fg. So queen c4, bishop d7, king d7, knight b6 check, king e8, knight c4, knight e6, and the game goes on. Black's got two rooks for two pieces and a rook for the queen, which is great, but yeah, his pieces are a little bit cramped. It just goes to show, really. I mean, this is the challenge that that Adam and Danny were setting themselves in a practical game to, you know, to navigate all these variations. And I can tell you from very great experience trying to do the same that it's not easy because there's a lot of things that you remember, but getting the move orders right and the nuances, you know, that's really, really tough. And I think what you're going to see is that Adam does it perfectly in this game and Danny just stumbles right at the end. So bishop h3 played by Adam, the best move. And the idea actually of this move, you're putting pressure on the pawn, and also now when black plays a move like castle queenside, for example, which is what Danny did, then knight d5 is possible because the pawn is pinned. And yeah, the knight's just annoying on there, right? It's just controls a lot of squares and forces the queen to move. Yeah, actually, the engines were also looking at the move queen a5 here, so just sort of sidestepping that immediately, leaving the king in the center, and looking to try and develop some counterplay there. Also, very, very interesting, and there've been quite a few correspondence games in that as well. But castles, knight d5, queen a5 from Danny, and another choice here for Adam. You could choose king b1, which is quite an interesting move there. If you want to know, you know, what's the threat in this position for white, the threat is to play b4 and fork these two, although that's not exactly the end of things. One of the moves for black is to go king b8, b4, queen a4. And yeah, you're just going to let white take on there and try and exploit the weakened king and the fact that these two pieces are in a lot of danger. Crazy stuff. I mean, you've got to be so brave to do this in a practical game. It's yeah, I mean, just incredible, really. But Adam played a3, which again was the most popular line. I don't know you know how where the theoretical knowledge of both players ended, but we actually very still following a critical correspondence game that was played a little bit before this game. So could well be that one of the players, or maybe both, knew that they were on the right path here. But yeah, incredible somehow. So bishop h6 check, king b1, and queen d2. And looks like you're putting the queen, the head of the queen, into the lion's mouth. But obviously, you know, on a5, that queen was in a lot of danger. I mean, actually, the threat was to play b4, queen a4, and knight b6, forking the king and queen. So you really need to do something with your queen. So bringing it in is not such a bad thing. It can get attacked by everywhere, but being trapped, not quite yet. And you know, that's lots and lots of tricks to escape. So the queen's actually also attacking the knight on d4. So rook d1 was played by Adam. Queen h2 is still following theory here. And now, again, there are a couple of choices here. Adam went for knight e7 check, which is one of the main lines. One of the other main lines here is to go rook g7. As you're going to see, these are really subtle differences, playing knight e7 first or rook g7. After rook g7, black puts the king to b8, just tries to get out of this pin and threatening to take on d5. So white goes knight e7, and you're now threatening knight c6 check. So black plays bishop e4, pretty key line, getting ahead of that check, basically attacking the queen, and we're also attacking c2 here. And well, what do you want to do? One of the ideas is to go rook f7 check here, and after bishop f3, well, we can go knight f3, for example, queen takes h3, and then we've got a draw by repetition here, king b8 and knight c6. You can't go to the side, of course, because of rook a7. Again, all known in actual fact, although black actually blundered in a correspondence game between two somewhat weaker players back in 2005, 2006. But Adam chose a different continuation. I mean, can you see how many lines you've got to remember? And it's I mean, it's very difficult for black, of course, because you've got to work out exactly where you're going. But of course, with white, you can get it completely wrong and then find you've got no attack whatsoever. It's just really difficult for both players. So when you put the knight on e7, obviously, if you played the king to b8 now, you'd have a check on c6. So the king has to go to c7, and now white plays rook g7. And I have to say that if I had to choose between Adam's continuation and the continuation in the previous note, I'd choose this one because the king looks much more, it looks much more dangerous to have the rook on the 7th attacking the king rather than having it on b8. And now Danny played the sharpest line here, which is bishop e4. There is another idea like rook f8 here, and I'm just going to show you this line because I think this is somehow, I think Danny got his lines a bit confused now. This is where his memory sort of, or his recollection of things kind of got hazy, and where just Adam came through there, because if you go queen c3 now, after rook f8, you protect f7, queen c3. So there's a little bit of a switch. You're getting out of the attack with bishop e4 and you're threatening b4. Then black is supposed to be able to get away with king b6. That's the key move. And after bishop e6, knight takes e4. Well, the engines are saying, yeah, this is a draw. And there's also some correspondence games, in this. Totally bananas. I'm not going to try and analyze it, but it's supposed to be okay for black. So what Danny did was play bishop takes e4, and it was met by rook takes f7. And what a sacrifice, right? I mean, we're threatening, all sorts of discovered checks there, and you know basically that you're not going to get, you're not going to get any more than a draw if this happens. I mean, actually, the queen sacrifice is bishop f3, knight d5, double check, and wherever you go, black's getting mated. So, for example, king c8, I go rook c7, knight c6, and well, choose your idea. Knight b6 looks the most stunning there. So that's the idea of it. But here black has a single move, and that had been played in a correspondence game, one correspondence game before. But black has only got one move here, and that is the brilliant queen takes c2. And after knight c2, bishop f3, you're saying, yeah, I'm fine. There's nothing dangerous you can do to me. The key point is that the bishop on the rook on d1 is hanging. So white plays the move knight d4, hitting the bishop on f3 here. And of course, it's the same trick, right? Bishop d1, I've got knight d5 check, which is still working. And well, let's do a different one here. Check there, and checkmate there again. But black can play bishop e4 check, king a2, and get the king out. And bizarrely enough, after takes, and rook f8, black is actually surviving that. Bananas, right? Totally bananas. But that was the key idea. Only I suspect that Danny was kind of thinking about the previous line that we'd seen, where king b6 was the key, and he played king b6 in this position. Unfortunately, after queen c3, it turns out that he is completely lost in this position. It's just turned around, just like that somehow. What's the big problem? Well, actually, the big problem is that white just wants to take on e6, and the king is just really, really exposed. Now, Danny played the move queen e5, which looked very, very nice. And now there's quite a few lines that the engines recommend. The funny thing is that Adam played a move that's not in the engine top two moves, but that's still plus 5.5 or something. It's a really lovely move. You might want to just pause your video here and see whether you can find it. It's because I really loved it when I saw it. Adam's move was to play a4 here. Not obvious at all, has to be said. And the idea is just to play a5 and force the king back onto the second rank, and then we've got a devastating discovered attack there. And yeah, this the rook covering the second rank is going to be crucial in a lot of lines. If you go knight a4, I go knight d5 check, and then mate you on c7. And if you were to go b takes a4, then I'd go knight d5 as well. And mate you like this. Knight's covering the c6 square. So, yeah, Danny was really up against it there. He played the move rook d7, and then Adam found another beautiful idea. It might be a nice tactical trick puzzle for you, although it's quite a tricky one, I have to say. Adam found a beautiful move, knight g6. And that caused Danny to resign. What's the idea? Well, obviously we're attacking the queen on e5. If you take on d7, on g6 rather, I just go rook d7, yeah, I'm threatening a5 check mate, by the way. And if knight d7, well, I go queen c6, and so that would be completely decisive. What's the best that Black has got there? Well, after knight g6, you can play knight a4, but then I go knight takes e5, knight takes, and as if by a miracle, the rook on f7 is defended. So this is just winning, forking the rook there. e6 is hanging, d6 is hanging. It's all completely gone. Really lovely game from Adam. I mean, it's real, really good preparation and really good remembering. And then, when you need to work things out for yourself. A lovely move a4, really artistic move a4, to finish off the game. So beautiful play there from Adam. So that was the game against Danny Gormally. In the next clip, we're going to have a look at an absolutely fantastic attack on the white side of a Pirc modern. So this is the game Hunt against Rovic, played almost 25 years ago at the Gold Coast, Park Royal. It's in America. And Adam is white here, and on the white side of a surprisingly quiet bishop e2 Pirc. And well, it's got a typical sort of small advantage here. Pieces have been exchanged. There's just one open file, but Black finds it hard to challenge for the file. If you go rook d8, I'll just take off twice. You take with the queen, and then the e5 pawn is hanging. That's the essence of White's edge. But yeah, okay, Black has to just be a little bit careful. The engine's almost suggesting, well, you just wait, don't you? You don't do anything at all, and you wait for White to do something. That's possible too. Human players find it harder to make that sort of decision. Normally when we make that decision, it all goes wrong. And Black tried this move, knight b7. I mean, this move looks completely safe, right? I mean, it's all of the entry squares on the d file. They're all covered by two pieces at least. And what this move aims for, it aims to play rook d8. And so if you exchange off twice, you'll be able to take with a knight on d8, and the queen stays protecting the pawn on e5. And yeah, then you're just claiming afterwards equal, basically. That's the theory in any case. But Adam spotted a really, really nice idea here, and yeah, Black just did not see it coming. Have to say, when I saw it, I said, "Ooh, good lord, that was nice! Wow." So he played the move knight h4, which looks a little bit like an empty shot in the air, really. I mean, there's a little trick, okay? Knight takes g6, and the pawn is pinned, so you can't take it back. But after all, I mean, Black can just defend it, and, well, what's that knight doing on h4? What sort of plan have you got? So I think that's pretty much in that spirit that Black played the move king g7. And you might want to stop the video now and see whether you can find Adam's continuation, which was absolutely brilliant. Yeah, I mean, what Adam spotted really was that yeah, it is true that that all of the entry points on the D file are covered by at least 2 pieces. But yeah, nature of chess and combinations, that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't put pieces on there. And Adam played the shot bishop takes h6 check there. And after king takes h6, he played the move rook d7, and this is so powerful. After knight f7, we're just going to take on f7, and there's no way to defend this g6 pawn. Yeah, somehow, out of nowhere, black's got nothing to defend the king side anymore. So black actually played something quite ingenious here. He played the move knight d6. So counterattacking the queen, protecting f7. Adam carried on with rook takes d6. Looks pretty powerful, right? But now black takes with the knight on d7. And the idea is that after queen f7 now, you can play queen takes d6 and cover the g6 square. It's actually a very ingenious defense, this one. I was quite impressed when I was playing through the game. But you might want to stop the video again and just see which continuation Adam chose here, because it was very, very nice indeed. He threw in the Zwischenstück, knight f5 check. And this is really unpleasant, just exploiting that temporary pin of the rook on d6 on the pawn on g6. And the king basically has got nowhere to hide. Black tried to go back, but we do whack and whack. And, well, the white pieces are just all over the black king. Black played knight f6 just to stop the mate on g8. But after check, king h7, queen g5. That was that. There's no coming back from that. White has just got the move queen h5 check, winning. So there we are. 2 great games there from Adam Hunt. Yeah, once again, really, you know, all I can say is how shocked I was to hear, yeah, you know, of his passing. All the best to his family and friends, of which there are, you know, very many, and yeah, you know, just as I always say, you know, with these occasions, the one beautiful thing about chess is that people pass, but you know, as well as you know, memories of the people ourselves, we can always you know, look back at the wonderful games that they've played, and yeah, and also marvel at their skill as well. And yeah, these are 2 really great games. And yeah, I mean, there are many more games. If you just bring up a list of his games, you're just going to see lots of attacking play, lots of interesting play. He was just a really good player. So there we are. Thanks very much for watching this video, and yeah, keep well, keep safe, and hope to see you at the next ones. Thanks for watching.